right, looks like we're live. 2 seconds, 3 seconds, comments will appear. Okay. So let's give everybody a minute to, oh, that stupid live dive thing is still popping up. You always forget to get rid of that. Think we're good? One person? Okay, cool. Scott, welcome. Hey there. Doing a quick setup here, getting everything sorted. Welcome, welcome everybody. All right, looks like we're live. Five people. Welcome Mark, welcome Scott. We'll get started here in a little bit. Just want to make sure we got everything running. Can you guys hear us okay? Or can you hear me okay? Check, check, check 1, 2. Check the microphone. Yes and hello. Hey, Michelle. Cool, welcome. We're just getting some stuff sorted on this end. So welcome everybody. Bear with us as we kind of get this started and then, okay, yes, Jason says yes. Okay, cool. Good to hear. 8 people. Cool. Seems like it's working. Okay, cool. All right, let me get the door real quick. I'll be right back. Steve, entertain them. All right, everybody. Let's see if we can get Dr. Nick in here. Approve. Almost. Connecting. All right, there he is. Okay, Steven, I guess we're going to have to get a little closer here.
Yeah, it gave me the message that I had to rotate my phone to join.
Oh, okay.
So because I guess if yours is horizontal, mine needs to be as well.
Oh, well, there you go. All right. Well, welcome, everybody. We've got Dr. Nick on the line. We've got myself, Ian from LiveAquaria, and Steve from LiveAquaria. We're here to answer your questions today. So just want to thank everybody, first of all, for showing interest in this live Q&A. And, you know, anybody that sent along your questions, we greatly appreciate that. We have a little bit smaller selection than last week, but feel free if at any time as we're going through the questions, if you guys have a question that you'd like to have answered in this live chat, you can totally do that. Just go ahead and put it in the live chat here, and we'll do our best to get to it. So for about the next 30 minutes or so, we'll go through these questions. And we have a new face with us, actually. This time we have Steve. So I'll let Steve introduce himself a little bit. Go ahead, Steve.
My name's Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Hello.
Like
I've worked here since 2006 and worked pretty much all over in the coral farm. Right now, I'm in charge of maintenance and propagation, but I've taken care of the saltwater fish and the corals and all sorts of livestock, so I know a little bit here and there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, since 2006, that's huge. So Steve has got a lot of knowledge, and he's one of our, I don't think we talked about your title, but did you mention it? I don't know what your title is. Very interesting because it's very broad. I mean, Steve's basically in charge of like all of the mechanical and then coral propagation. Is that a true statement?
Yeah.
Okay.
The main points.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I guess without further ado, I think we can get started. And Samuel says hi, Steve.
Hello.
So thanks everybody for joining us. Just a quick recap of what we're doing here. This is a live Q&A. We have Dr. Nick on you're in, I forget where you are. You're
well, right now I'm in Kansas City on my way to Illinois, but normally I'm in Phoenix.
So we're in Wisconsin. He's in Kansas City. We're pulling this together. We're providing our education, our experience to you guys live here in this Q&A. We're doing this every Wednesday at 1 p.m. CST. So for anybody who didn't see And if you're just seeing this now, we do have this as a regular Facebook event page. Go check it out. We have it recurring every week, Wednesday at 1 p.m. So, like I said, let's get started. The first question is from Art on Facebook. I'm going to pitch this one to Steve. Art is considering making the jump to a 310-gallon fish and live rock saltwater tank. He's confused on how to get the selection for the fish, or selecting the fish for the tank. He's looking for suggestions and or directions on putting together a great list of fish that would go together well.
Well, on our website, we have the compatibility chart. So that's a good place to start. I guess it all depends on if he is including corals in his tank, inverts, because there's certain fish that eat inverts or pick on corals. Some of the safe fish you don't have to worry about would be pretty much like all of the dotty backs and most of the tangs, stuff like that. But if he's having a fish only with live rock, then he can put almost anything in there.
Yeah, and he actually is in the chat, so hey, Art. Oh. So he is looking at fish only.
Oh, fish only?
Yeah.
How about inverts? Because if you got snails and shrimp and stuff like that, you have to watch out with the triggers.
And I will. Oh, go ahead.
But most angels are safe then, large or small.
Okay, so he says he's not sure. So I'll add on this too. We've done a lot of work over the last 20 plus years to our website, and we're continuing to do that every day too, to add as much information about these specimens as possible. So you can definitely check out our website and then look through the different categories of fish we have, marine, inshore, water, however you want to build it. But we do actually have some refinements on our website. Like if you go to marine fish, you can actually refine by items that we suggest as fish only tank fish, or if they're reef safe, or if we advise some caution. So just a little helpful tip. Our website has some built-in refinements into each category that will kind of help your navigation and kind of looking at the different options available that we've kind of tailored and brought to you as an assortment. So I hope that helps, Art. The 310, that's a nice size aquarium, so that definitely share some of that. We'd love to see that. That'd be great. All right, moving on. Next one is for Dr. Nick. It's also from Facebook, from a Valerie. Valerie says that she has a 75-gallon tank that housed several peaceful South American cichlids and a group of rainbow fish. She says, recently we moved the cichlids to a larger tank, and now the rainbow fish have stopped eating and act a bit disoriented. Can the separation of fish cause them to have it reacclimate and adjust to the new normal? We might have answered this last time, but I'll let you go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, we did talk about it a little bit last week, and I think that there's a couple things that come to mind. Is whenever people are moving fish, sometimes they'll also move the decor, or maybe they've done a water change or something like that that may have changed the actual environment. So I'd always would want to look at the water quality and make sure that the water is the appropriate parameters for the species of fish. And then second, it could have been just getting in there and netting out those fish and stressed the rainbow fish to the point where it might take them, a few days to a week to recuperate and get back to normal. And so maybe Valerie can give us an update soon about how those fish are doing now. And if she checks the water quality, make sure that that everything is correct, the fish will probably return to their normal behavior.
Okay, great. So we got a little bit of duplication there. Moving on then to Instagram. This question is from Instagram from a user called nmitty plus. I hope I got that right. But I'm going to pitch this one to Steve. They're interested to know if a peacock mantis shrimp would break through the glass of an aquarium. And this was actually from a recent Instagram post we did because we were adding it as a diver's den item. So I think it was a diver's den post, as I recall. And I think they were interested to know just that, if it was going to break the glass. So actually, I was kind of wondering that myself. My thought is no. That's my guess, but I'll let you answer.
Yes, it could.
Oh, it can. There you go.
because the peacock mantis, the scalaris, is a smasher. If a person is worried about their tank breaking but still wants a mantis shrimp, you could get a spearing mantis shrimp.
Oh, okay.
You know,
what about acrylic versus glass?
They'd have to work a lot harder on acrylic to crack it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It might be safer if you're going to try it, get a thick acrylic.
Yeah, that would be a lot safer with.
Because you would see a crack in the acrylic before it actually broke, whereas glass could just shatter.
Right.
Interesting. I did not think it would actually, I mean, I guess maybe depending on the thickness of the glass.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe the typical aquarium glass thickness you'd have to be concerned about. Well, there you go. Buyer beware. All right. Oh, so Valerie's actually, so water quality is good. Even the general hardness is appropriate. Most are doing better except for one of the aqua rainbows who still refuses to eat. I've tried to pull him out with interesting frozen foods, but nothing is tempting him yet. He's getting pretty thin.
Was there any problem going on initially that caused you to remove the cichlids? You know, were they picking on the rainbow fish? Maybe that was causing some stress. I would say, though, that now that cichlids are gone, the rainbow fish should improve. Maybe some brine shrimp might be a good treat for them, something like that to get them to start eating.
Valerie says they went to a bigger tank.
The cichlids did, or the rainbow fish.
I think the cichlids.
Yeah. So the rainbow fish should actually be happier in the tank without the cichlids.
Okay.
It's an interesting one. We'll have to monitor that one, but just try to maybe different types of either a small pelleted food or frozen brine shrimp or live brine shrimp, and see if you can feed that specifically in front of the fish that's not eating to see if you can entice it to eat.
Okay, great. So it was my mistake, but I'm glad we brought that question up anyway because Valerie's in the chat, so that's really great. The question actually I meant to ask was from a Justin, and this was towards the tail end of our last live stream, which I don't think we answered. He's asking, how can we as home aquarists boost our fish's immune system? He's guessing high quality foods, but he's wondering if there's anything else that can help. And I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, so, you know, the best thing, water quality. And there's a Chinese phrase that goes back to earliest times of fish culturing, back in one of the earliest books on fish culture is from 500 BC in China on carp culture. But the theory is to culture fish, you have to culture the water. And so no matter what we're talking about, you have to ensure that the water quality is good, because water quality, if there, you know, the pH is off or the high ammonia, high nitrite, that's going to reduce the fish's immunity. Even high nitrate can reduce the fish's immunity. So if you're trying to ensure the fish has a good immunity, just make sure the water is correct. Then the second part would be good nutrition. And most of the foods that are available today are actually, you know, good, well-balanced diets. But feeding a variety of food is also a great benefit, because even if one food is well made and has all the nutrients in it, over time the nutrients can go bad. Not bad, but just diminish, especially vitamins. And so you want to ensure that you're feeding fresh food. So if you open a can of fish food, ideally you should use it within about 3 to 6 months. If it's been sitting around open longer than that, it will lose the nutritional value, which could reduce the fish's immune system. If you have to keep it longer, let's say you're buying in large bulk for lots of fish, you can store unused portion of the food in the refrigerator, which will maintain its freshness longer. Always keep it sealed. And if you're feeding a variety of different foods, so you can use live food, frozen food, freeze-dried food, pelleted food, flake food, you know, of different varieties, you're better assured of getting proper nutrition. So water quality and good nutrition will reduce the fish's stress and increase its immunity. Then if we wanted to get into diseases, then of course you want to make sure you're preventing new disease or parasites from being introduced into your aquarium. So we do recommend always quarantine new fish coming in a separate aquarium with a either a biofilter or just an air filter with frequent water changes and water quality monitoring to make sure that the new fish doesn't have parasites. Once you're sure that it's healthy and eating and doing well, then you can introduce that into the new fish. An interesting thing about stress and the immune system is most people don't think about when they're buying a fish at the aquarium store, that fish has come from a farm somewhere, usually in Asia or some other countries. There are some fish farms in Florida. But then it goes from the farm to an exporter, to an importer, to retail, to a wholesaler, then a retailer, and then the customer. So that fish has already been under a lot of stress in being handled. So if all along that journey we're not maintaining good water quality and good nutrition, there's much greater risk of that fish getting sick by lowering its immune system. So it's very important for your local retailer and all the process steps along the way that they keep the water quality good and provide a proper diet.
And that's definitely something we take very seriously here, day in and day out too. I was going to say, like, water quality and nutrition and just general care are top priority for us here at Coral Farm. So yeah, that's really great. Steve, if you have anything to add to that, feel free.
We do daily water changes, and we feed a majority of the fish with frozen food, but we also give them pellets. Because just personally, we feel like the pellets are cleaner than the flakes.
That makes sense. Easier from a day-to-day maintenance perspective, and
yeah,
easier to keep it clean, water quality on check.
It's also easier to measure the quantity with pellets because they're a fairly consistent size usually, whereas with flakes, you take a pinch or 2 pinches, but the quantity may vary from feeding to feeding. Whereas with pellets, if you're using even a standard pinch, or if you're using a little spoon to measure it, you can get a very consistent. And regarding feeding, the typical saying is feeding the fish as much as they'll eat in about 3 minutes at a time, depending on the species, once a day, twice a day. Young fish should be eaten maybe even 3 or 4 times a day.
Awesome. I'm going to take a question from chat here from a Jerry. He's wondering, is there one all-purpose medication that we would recommend for recently purchased fish for a quarantine tank?
It kind of glitched out there. What was it again?
Just looking for a recommendation on one all-purpose medication that we would recommend for recently purchased quarantine tank.
Okay, that's a great question, because unfortunately there is no magic medication that you can put in that takes care of everything. However, having said that, the majority of the fish are, if they're coming in with parasites, they're most likely going to be protozoan parasites, which could include Ichthyopterius. It could be Costia, which is let's see, Costia, Trichodina, Tetrahymena, just a bunch of different protozoa. And those you're not going to be able to see unless you're using a microscope. So a combination of some of these ick medicines, which usually contain formalin and malachite green, or just formalin, or formalin and methylene blue. There's a lot of different substances that you can buy over the counter. But I would say treating it for a protozoa, following the label instructions for dosage, works really well. Another product that's different than formalin, it's a little bit safer, is a product called Minfin, which is a peracetic acid and hydrogen peroxide solution. And the advantage with the Minfin is after you do the treatment, it has a neutralizer that you put in that neutralizes the medicine immediately, so that there's no residue in the aquarium. So you can treat the fish and then get rid of the medication after the treatment period, which is usually 30 minutes to an hour. And that's another broad spectrum one that I would use. So those would be the first ones. And then if you find other specific things, bacteria, fungus, flukes, those all require different medications.
Yeah, so it's really kind of just quarantining automatically, and then really just kind of observe the animal, make sure that you make the best course of treatment, through the quarantine phase.
Oh, you're finished.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got it all
Great.
looked at?
Next question for Matt here. Art. So welcome back, Art. Actually, sorry, Samuel. I'm going to take Samuel's question first. Then I'm going to pitch this one to Steve then. He's asking about freshwater stingray for months, and interesting enough, we actually have some, but I'll let you take it.
Yeah, we just got earlier this week, so probably towards the end of next week we'll think about putting it back on, as long as it's eating well and normal.
So we actually did, as a quick side note, we did a live unboxing last Thursday or Friday. I can't remember the day offhand. Last week, the live unboxing where
This Friday,
yeah. So last Friday we actually did an unboxing. Myself and Alex here, who Alex was the freshwater divers den, and her and I unboxed actually that particular freshwater stingray live. So you can go back to that and check it out if you want to after this stream. We got kind of a good shot. We don't want to upset too much. So, but yeah, the next couple weeks hopefully. Cool. All right. Next question then is from Art. So kind of along the same quarantine, you need to quarantine the fish that are bought from the divers den. I'll let you take that one, Steve.
I would say yes. Well, because it's got the strenuous journey to get from here to the owner. So the immune system is going to drop, and there's always a chance. As long as it's in the building, it's in copper, and it's treated when it first comes in. So there should be nothing wrong with the fish, but since the immune system is getting lowered due to the stress of shipping, we recommend that all fish, at least be watched for a week.
And I think, we talked about this in the last live Q&A with Patrick, and I think he actually mentioned too, and maybe Dr. Nick, you had made a point about this, but, even, the efforts we put into here, which are huge efforts we put into each animal that comes into here, the care and the expert condition, everything we put into it, animal that comes in these facilities, even after we deemed it good to go and it's ready to be purchased and put up on the divers den, the reality is there's always something underlying there potentially, and that's why the quarantine is still so important, and that's why we always advise that even though you're getting something from the divers den, even though it went through our expert condition, there's always a chance that due to the shipping, the stress of shipping and other unforeseen circumstances, that the fish, the best course of action is to quarantine and observe and treat accordingly. So, and actually, this gets. Go ahead.
I'll add that the quarantine, the original intent of the quarantine is to make sure the fish is not sick before you put it in with your regular aquarium, but you also have to think about, you're taking a brand new fish that's been stressed through shipping, and now you're putting it into an aquarium with lots of other fish swimming around and poking at it. That itself could be a little stressful on top of it. So by being able to isolate it by itself, or with the recently purchased fish all in a quarantine before they're put into the main aquarium, it actually gives it a chance to rest and recover from the shipping before it's introduced into the new environment.
Really good. Awesome.
And that's why we did talk last week about the divers den. All those fish coming in from the suppliers, they're all quarantined and rested and fed, and we make sure they're looking healthy and they're eating and active before they ever get listed. And then there was a question last week about, well, sometimes a fish is listed and then when I go to buy it, it's not available. And it's because, well, even though it looked good, we put it out for sale or listed it for sale, and then something all of a sudden didn't look right, we're going to pull that fish back and not sell it until it's better. And that's why sometimes things are not available after they're posted, but then get pulled.
Yeah, that's a really great point to call back to that. And Steve is part of the team that reviews the regular divers and items that get released every day. And I mean, Steve, you can chime in here. I mean, if you see something that just doesn't look right, or if it's not up to snuff, then it doesn't make the cut.
Right. Yeah. Delete it out of the possibility for the diver's den that day.
So, yeah, I mean, as we said before, care and conditioning of the animal is always utmost here. It's utmost priority for us here every single day. And really, that's just, I guess, that's the mindset we really advocate and promote to all hobbyists is, really caring and thinking about the animal first, and making sure that you're giving it the best possible introduction into your home. So the next question, actually still along the QT line, is from Michelle. So I'm going to pitch this one to Dr. Nick. So she's wondering, do we recommend medicated QT over observation QT? She observes only unless she sees an issue.
That's probably it right there, because you're looking at the fish daily, you're making sure it's active, making sure it's eating, no discoloration of the skin, no fuzziness, no torn fins, any lesions. As you start seeing reddening of the fins, then I would consider doing a medication. If you're watching the fish and everything looks good, it's probably okay to not medicate it. If you do use a medication, you would probably, again, as I mentioned, start with something maybe that contains a formalin solution like Rid-Ick, or all those different ick preparations. Saltwater fish, you might be using copper on them. You can use Minfin both on freshwater and copper. If it's a saltwater fish, after it's had a chance to recuperate for a little bit, you might even try a freshwater dip on it. Things like that to just make sure there's no extra parasites on it before you put it back into your display tank.
Nice. So you're on the right path, Michelle. Good job. So Samuel says, "Oh my God, I need LOL. Will they be on the site?" Oh, yeah, the freshwater stingray. So yeah, definitely keep your eye out. We'll definitely be promoting that one when it's available on the Divers Den, and
after it's quarantined.
After it's quarantined, of course. And it'll definitely be put out there in our marketing. So if you haven't actually signed up, just a quick call out. If you haven't actually signed up for our Divers Den email alerts, head over to liveaquaria.com, and there's a link at the bottom for Divers Den Store Help. And on that page, it's in the footer of the website. It's called Divers Den Store Help. On that page that you go to, there's actually an email alert option where you can put in your email, and you get added to a list, and then every time Steve here approves a batch to be put on the site, you'll get notified automatically. So definitely a great way to find a new, Divers Den WYSIWYG store items in the fastest way possible. All right, so we got a few minutes left here. I'm going to skip ahead to this one is actually when we get a lot, and this actually comes quite honestly from our call center quite a bit. And I'm gonna pitch this one to Steve. Guidance with getting anemones to attach in an aquarium.
Good luck. Well, it's not hard to get them to attach. It's hard to get them to attach where you want them to attach, because they're going to move around till they find the spot that they like. And if you want it to be in a different spot than where they pick, you need to try and mirror, what's happening, the flow of the lighting, all that type of stuff where you want it. So hopefully it'll move over there. So more comfortable.
So it's interesting. So I guess in your experience, when it comes to, and I'll be honest, I haven't cared for a lot of anemones, but in your experience, if you had a tank with a certain scaping, if you found that an anemone, like say the left side in a corner with some rock, if you were to mimic that same sort of shape on the right side, you'd find success in getting it potentially to stay over there. Interesting. Well, there, a little helpful tip potentially,
because that's where they head to, where they like the lighting, the flow,
the lighting flow, kind of general that they have.
Yeah, sometimes in the back corner, it's because that's where the food gets kind of pushed to by the power heads. They like to feed back there.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, I think we have time for just one more. This is actually one that Dr. Nick, you provided this one. I thought this was a really good one. Came from a Facebook group. I don't remember. I think it was Koi Fish of America. But anyway, this person came home today and found one of their baby koi dead. The weird thing is that it had a green spot in the stomach. They're curious on what it could be. The stomach wasn't bloated, but it just had weird green spots.
And this is a common one. And on the comments that were on this, there were people, suggesting it was bacteria or fungus or some kind of infection. And the koi keeper had commented back that it was on the inside of the fish, not the outside of the fish. So it wasn't a skin lesion. And the interesting point is that it was definitely greenish. And so having dealt with dead fish quite a bit over the last 40 years, that I have seen this situation, and it's called bile imbibition. And that means essentially staining of the tissue by bile. And after the fish dies, the gallbladder can rupture. The gallbladder is the green organ that holds bile, which is green in fish usually. And that bile just starts leaking into the surrounding tissue. It stains that tissue around it, whether it's a liver. So if you're doing a necropsy, you might see some green color on the liver or on the intestines, or in this case, on the muscles of the body wall. And so that green stain that could be seen from the outside of the fish, especially in a little fish like a young koi, is the bile just leaking in. And so it probably had nothing to do with the fish's death. What we normally would want to do is look at a skin scrape of the fish, a gill biopsy under the microscope, see if we can find some parasites or lesions, and of course test the water to make sure there wasn't a water quality problem. But the actual green spot that she saw on the fish was a post-mortem change and had most likely nothing to do with why the fish died.
But still a common occurrence, you said,
yeah.
Right?
Very common in fish that you find dead, that have been dead for a little bit, is they'll start getting autolysis. The tissues will start breaking down, the gallbladder breaks or leaks, and the bile, which is a thick green liquid, will just start turning everything green.
Ah, wow. Very interesting. All right. Well, I think that just about wraps up this Q&A for this week. So first of all, thank you, Dr. Nick, and thank you, Steve, for joining and providing your expertise. I was going to say also thank you to everybody who tuned in, asked the questions they asked. Hopefully this was really a benefit to you. If you happen to be watching this after the fact and you still have a question, don't be afraid to put it in the comments of this video, and we'll look to add it to the next live Q&A. Like I said before, we do this every Wednesday at 1 p.m. CST. So be on the lookout for our Facebook events that we'll be setting up. And it's a great way to RSVP and just be notified when we do go live. But anyway, yeah, hope everybody has a great rest of your week. Take care and good luck.